Hello, beautiful conscious creators. I hope that you have started your day with nothing short of health, wealth, peace, love, and light as we explore healing and conscious creation together in this space. I hope that you'll remember to be kind and patient with yourself and your thoughts. My name is Obagang and I'm your accidental therapist. Do I add that at the end? I probably usually add that at the end. Anyway, not the point. So, yesterday, my video cut at a very critical part of the conversation, but it was almost over. It was just me going over what the conversation was about, and that is addressing your relationship with money at its core. Now, I think it was like it ended perfectly. Even though my SD card got full, it was just like a perfect ending, and it didn't feel as incomplete as I thought it would. So yeah. So today I wanted to I just remember that I have a song recommendation, and I want to share that today, instead of like saying a lot of things, I want to share a few questions that you can use to figure out how you relate to money and try to think or become more aware. These questions will help you become aware of how it is that you relate to the idea of money and what it means to you and what value you place on the specific thing. And by addressing that, yes, I did say having using affirmations is important in order to attract it, but it's also addressing your relationship at its core. Now, these are the questions that I will share. But before I get into those questions, song recommendation. And I have a song recommendation by whatchamacallit? ODIE. OD. And the name of the song is Story. Anyway, it's not one of my favorite songs, but I definitely do like vibe to it. So without further ado, the first question for the day, you can like get a piece of paper, pause the video, get a piece of paper, and then write these questions down. First question. By the way, these questions can be very hard hitting, and I want you to know that they don't have to be answered overnight. Because addressing the shadow self, addressing the things that you're not aware of, they're not in your conscious mind, they run in your background, they run in the subconscious, they are the things that you were taught growing up, and so you've taken them on as habits that you developed in your fundamental years. So yeah, I got a bit lost there. I can't even remember what I wanted to say. But the first question, oh yes, so these questions can be hard-hitting. And because they can be hard-hitting, take your time with them. You don't have to answer them overnight. You can be patient to wait and listen for the answer, because the answer is always there. We always have the answer in our body. Like if you think about your gut will always respond to certain situations because it understands if it's in a safe space or not, or your nervous system will react in situations and you'll find that you're sitting still and then you hear a certain question, or you'll hear something that is almost triggering. That trigger system, it's your nervous system reacting to something that you recognize inside of your body. It can be like a twitch in the body. It can be like just like a bit of nervous energy that sits in this area. It can be anything. You have to know and understand and listen to how your body reacts to situations in order for you to know that maybe there is something there that needs to be addressed. Maybe there's something there that I can look at and say, okay, what is it about what was mentioned? What is it about this trigger? What is at the core of this trigger that is causing a reaction in my body, in the nervous system, in just how it's making me feel, how I'm just responding to this specific thing. Okay, so that being said, the first question that you can ask yourself, the first question that you can write down is, Do you truly believe? Sorry, I have not that I'm sorry, but I'm gonna look down for now because today I wrote a few things down because I was like, you know what? I need to share as much, and if there's anything that I left out, well, boom, I can always refer to something. Yeah. So the first question for today is: do you truly believe that you deserve the money that you desire? And an approach that you can use in order to get to that answer of addressing the worthiness is place a certain value. It can be 100,000, it can be a million, it can be 10 million, it can be a billion, whatever figure, you choose to use. Just give yourself that number. Maybe it's something that you desire to see for yourself. Give yourself that number and say, I deserve 100 million. And if there is something inside of you, back to the nervous system now, back to listening to our bodies. If the nervous system or your mind starts questioning the hows and it starts reacting in terms of like, would it even be possible? You overthinking it, or you are reacting in a way that feels like there's too much distance between me and this money that I am affirming in my mind, this money that I am saying is something that I deserve. If there's so much as even, you have to know yourself. And sometimes you do react in your body, but it's not necessarily saying that there is a problem there. It's just like a reaction. It's just now you just have to understand when something is a trigger for you, when something is not sitting 100% right with what you know. It doesn't feel natural for you. It doesn't feel natural to your spirit. So if there's some sort of visceral reaction, then you know that is something that you can address, and then you can start doing the affirmations around it. By using affirmations, it's part of the platform that you can use to address that trigger and affirm that actually I do deserve it. And the more you affirm it, the more the universe is like, actually you do deserve it. The universe, God, whatever it is that you believe, wherever your faith lies, once you start adopting the idea of that value that you set, that figure that you set in your mind for yourself, once it becomes less far removed from you and more close to something that feels like close to something that feels like it already exists in your reality, then it comes in. So ask yourself this question, because that will give you the feedback that you need to know if it is something that you need to address. Now, question number 2. When I complain about money, what is it? Oh, okay. So let me pose the question to you. Or you can write it down like this. When I complain about money, what is it that I'm really complaining about? And now, what I mean by that is sometimes you feel as though if you had a certain amount of money, you could do this and that and this and that, or you don't have to work for someone else. So that at its core is addressing freedom. So when you complain about it, am I complaining about these certain things that when you link them back together, they are painting the picture of freedom? Then you know that I can find ways. You can use that answer to say, now I can find ways to create freedom in my life, to create a sense that I can have freedom even with the little money that I have. So you're complaining about money in a certain way. You're using certain words. But now what are these certain words related to? And if they are related to freedom, then you know that, okay, at its core, I desire to be free. I desire to feel free and not burdened. So how can I move? What are the things that I can change in order to create freedom, or in order to create room for freedom in my life, to make myself feel like I am free? Or, there's also something that you can think about. If, say for instance, I'm talking to someone who wants to support their family, and, or maybe not even that, you believe that if you had money, say, like I'd say a gent in your heteronormative sense of defining the family unit, you want to provide for your family, and the only way you can have this family is the only way you can receive love, for instance, is if you had money. Then the problem is not necessarily the money. It's about addressing this feeling of worthiness, number one, and number two, this worthiness that's related to love. By knowing that you are deserving of love, regardless of whether you have the money that you desire or not, that is the fundamental issue that you should be addressing. So, back to the question, when I complain about money, what is it that I'm really complaining about? And again, I will say this, take your time to get to these answers, because you'll complain, and when you catch yourself doing it, that's when you can write down these questions and say, and because it will create a sense of awareness of, okay, this is something that I can look at and find ways to redefine how I look at this thing. Like for the love, for instance, by affirming that actually I am deserving of love. I'm truly, because I am loved and I am loved, I am deserving of love and I'm worthy of it. And I don't need extra things to feel like I am lovable. And yeah, that's that question. Now the third question is, when do you worry or stress about money? And by having an answer to that, then you can say, for instance, you spend, what is this, Mambara week? There's something called Mambara week in South Africa, where just the week before you earn your salary, I think it's the week before, I don't know, but you'll find that you're completely broke, or you've spent all of the money that you had at the beginning of the month, or whenever it is that you earned your salary, or you receive the money that you have. And this Mambara week is just can be very stressful for a lot of people, because they want to do a lot of things with the money, or they need to get to work, or whatever is causing the stress behind it. Then you know that, okay, I can plan around the stress. You can find ways to reduce this worry and stress by planning in advance. So by asking yourself this question, you become aware of where the problem is, and ask yourself, and then start finding solutions to how you can alleviate this problem that is existing, that is causing you the stress and the worry. Because stress and worry can trickle into other aspects of your life, and for some people it can be like how their joy when they are with their family. Because you're too stressed out, you can't even enjoy the experiences that you're sharing with the ones that you love. By overly stressing and being too much in your head, you forget to be present in the moment and enjoy the company that you're with. So what tools, by planning, you are giving yourself the tools that you can use in order to alleviate the stress, or reduce as much of it as possible, so that it's not too much of a burden on your system, too much of a burden on your shoulders that is just weighing you down, so much so that you can't be here in this moment. So ask yourself the questions, because you become aware of what it is that you need to plan around and work on, and you get better at it. I mean, it's not an overnight thing. You have to take the time to get there. Doing inner work takes time. And another question that you can ask yourself, do I believe that I'm broke or I'm poor? Now, with the word poor, It's not something that I enjoy. It's not a word that I play around with in my life, because poor is a mindset. You can come from a home that is not the most well off, or you can even come from a home that is extremely rich, not wealthy in mindset, but a lot of money, and yet still have a poor mindset. And a poor mindset being that you're limited in your being. You're limited in the things that you can possess, the things that you can achieve. You have blocked yourself from the world of all the abundance that you can receive, or all the abundance that already exists in your life. So poor is a mindset, and I would highly recommend refraining from the word poor. If you don't have money, say I'm broke, because broke is temporary. Broke is only temporary, could be a few years. It's fine, but you know you're gonna get somewhere eventually, even if it takes many years. Because you're broke, you know it's only temporary. So ask yourself, am I broke? Am I truly just on a fundamental level limited, just lacking? Or is this just a moment that will pass? Is this a moment that I will get through and actually attract and call in more money? Or, so am I broke or am I poor? Ask yourself that question. It's a hard-hitting question, but it's worth you taking the time to actually see that for you, for yourself. Yeah. And okay, how much time have we? Wow, it's too long. But okay, I'll ask one more question and I'll address some of the other questions tomorrow, and then go over other aspects of the conversation that I want to have with you, or maybe two or more questions. What is enough? So, what does enough look like for you? Without thinking about what society deems as enough, what does enough look like for me? I'll give you an example. My uncle, the one that passed away recently, he always used to say, Box, I don't need to, I don't need, sorry, okay, let me just speak properly. But his voice was quite deep. Funny man. Box, I don't need to live in a mansion. I don't even want to live in a mansion. I hate the ideas of big houses. I'm happy to live in an apartment style home, or a 1 room, or a 3 room, 2 room, something small. So what that told me, it took me a while to understand what he was truly saying. But once I finally grasped the idea that he was painting, it made sense why he would want to live in a smaller space. And that's because he values community. He values the idea of a cozy, small, close-knit community. And that for him is where his value lies. He values comfort with the people that surround him. So he doesn't need a lot to feel fulfilled. He just needs enough to sustain himself on a daily basis, to sustain his family on a daily basis. And he also just places his value more on the community that he has. It's about, what this also taught me is that fulfillment is truly the ideas that you perceive for yourself. So without looking and considering society and what society deems to be abundant or enough, what does enough look like for you? And by answering that question truly and honestly, and sitting down with yourself and saying, maybe family is enough, and maybe living on a farm, or living in an area where it's quiet and we have everything that we need in terms of being provided for, in terms of food. I mean, I'm talking security, the security of food and nourishment, all of that is covered. But living in a small town and the sense of quiet and the peace, if that is what enough looks like for you, then that is enough. So you can now add a figure to that enough, a specific value, say now 1 million, to use to invest and maybe start your shop and and that will be enough for you. And you need to understand that it's okay to get to a certain point, to get to a certain number and say that I'm okay with this. And this feels like more than enough for me. And this is where I'm happy to be. And by knowing that and understanding that, you're getting more in touch with yourself. And no, I would love to continue, but I just want to keep the videos as succinct as possible. So I hope you wrote down those questions, and you can start asking yourself these questions. It doesn't have to be today, it doesn't have to be tomorrow, but ask yourself the questions, and you will get closer and closer to understanding where your true desire lies, what it is that you truly desire, and what feels like fulfillment for you. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. My name is Oy Gang, and I am your accidental therapist.